thought we were okay. I thought that we were much better in the second half than we were the first half, which you could somewhat anticipate after having a week off. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to play some of those guys more minutes to get them reps on both ends of the floor. I didn't think that our zone offense was very good at all. I thought it was stagnant. I thought the ball got stuck in our hands too often. We didn't get as many paint touches as we should have in the first half, allowed too many paint touches for the opponent in the first half. But I thought in the second half there's a distinct difference in 1 out of every 2 shots you make, and 1 out of every 4 you make. And I think that that was the difference in the game, because we were able to score points in transition in the second half, and we weren't able to score as many as we need to in the first half. And that was because we didn't attack their zone in the right way. That's my fault just as much as it is our team's fault. Our practices have been disjointed, to say the least, over the last week, and zone offense wasn't as much of a priority as some of the other things that we were working on, and that's why we struggled the way that we did in the first half.
What about Joe? Joe seemed to be all right in that first half, though.
He's all right. Joe doesn't really know the difference, CJ, between zone and man. He's just kind of out there playing, but he knows that he'll shoot an open shot when he has 10 toes to the rim, and he knows when the ball goes up, he'll chase after it. And as I told him earlier this morning, when he's able to get traffic rebounds, he typically shoots a higher percentage of shot, and he's able to typically shoot more shots because he's getting more rebounds. And the same holds true with Czar. If you study Czar's numbers, when he gets rebounds, particularly offensive rebounds, he typically scores more. When he doesn't get offensive rebounds, he typically shoots more threes. And we need both of those guys. That's our most glaring weakness, is rebounding the ball. And when Bikes can rebound the way he did from a guard position, it at least gives us a chance, because that will be our Achilles heel.
Eric got some minutes tonight. What can you say about him and in the limited amount that he did get?
I thought he played good. Both he and Use would have played more if they wouldn't have had 4 fouls. Eric had 4 fouls in 13 minutes, and Use had 4 fouls in 8 minutes. So that's 8 out of our 23 fouls, and that's no good. And part of that is they're playing from behind in the possession, literally behind the guy that they're guarding, but also literally behind relative to how we teach and how we play defense. They're behind the entire possession, which leads to fouls. And our margin is not such that no matter who our opponent is or the locale of the game, that we can afford to just stop the clock and, hey, you get a foul because you're not playing the right way. We can't do that.
I understand you got to give them off, and they're off until Christmas night now. Timing-wise, it's bad from the standpoint that you probably want to be together and have these guys practice as much as possible, correct?
Yeah, I thought about that throughout the week. It would be an enormous cost to change tickets, and I don't think that that's fair to their parents. It may be immature on my part as a coach, because I do think that these guys work year-round, and I think that Christmas may be the most special season, and I think that they're deserving of the right time to see their friends and their family. Is it right for them to have 5 days off? Maybe they should only have 3.5 days off. Because of how our schedule fell relative to our game schedule, you know, playing South Dakota the day before going to Disney World, maybe don't play that game and play that game on Monday. Maybe keep them here and practice them Sunday and Monday. Is that really worth it? Are you going to get anything out of it? I don't know. It may be immature on my part. 5 days is a long time to be off. I think it'll be healthy for them in some ways. I think it'll be healthy for our team in some ways. But is it the right thing? I don't know.
Do you expect similar performances from Fultz? Like you mentioned today, but going forward, you expect these numbers going forward for him too?
Oh, I don't know. If he would have been getting those numbers prior to now, he would be playing the same number of minutes, maybe more, that he played. You know, that's not to be negative towards Joe. We have to have some consistency from everybody, not just Joe, not just Eric, not just Use. Eric and Use are not going to be the sole factors why we win a Big East game. If we have a chance to win a Big East game, it'll be because of the 10 guys that suit up and the 5 or 9 coaches that we have sitting over there, and that includes me. And just because Joe played better, that doesn't negate the fact that Eric and Use can play limited minutes and get 8 fouls. We can't do that. Collectively, we have to get better.
Is the challenge for Joe going to be to string together, you got off to a great start in the first half and then kind of disappeared in the second. The challenge is going to be to be able to, carry that over from half to half and play more consistently in bigger stretches for you?
I think he would have played the same, Todd, in the second half if I would have played him the same number of minutes. And I think you could probably say the same thing about Lazar. Jimmy was much better in the second half, but Jimmy or Lazar, for the most part, probably will be on the floor for us. Hopefully both of them, but for sure one of them. And not all the time was that the case in the second half. And that somewhat contributed to our stagnation offensively. That somewhat contributed to picking up fouls that we didn't need to pick up. But that was the sacrifice relative to letting those guys play.
Coach, you've had to replace leaders from last year's team, Dominic and Wes. Have you been satisfied with the guys who've stepped up to replace?
We signed 6 guys, and we had 6 guys returning. And of the 6 guys that we signed, 2 of them are no longer, or 1 is hurt for the year. 1 is no longer with our program. Of the 6 guys that were returning, 1 is hurt and is out for the year. We played 4 games before we went to Disney World, and nobody could remember each other's name, much less a play. We went to Disney World, and I thought we did okay. Came up a little short. Last 15 minutes, ran out of gas, didn't execute the way we needed to on either end. The balloon got completely popped, and it fluttered in the air for 20 minutes in the second half against North Carolina State. We tried to get some helium back in that balloon against UWM and did okay. And then we went to Wisconsin and didn't play good at all the first 12 minutes. At the first media timeout, we were down 8. We ended up losing the game by 9. But I thought from a coaching perspective, from the 12-minute mark until 1 minute and 14 seconds to go in the second half when I told them to foul, I thought in that 28-minute stretch, I thought that we played as best we could relative to they got 6 offensive rebounds for 12 points, and they went 11 of 18 from the free throw line because we were fouling when we didn't need to foul. But in that 28-minute stretch, we outscored them by 8. And when I went to college, they told me that you had to play 40 minutes a game. That was one of the coaching theory classes that I took so that I could earn a degree. But if you look at all that has transpired, we come back from Wisconsin. J-May leaves the program on Monday. That also happens to be probably the second most important week at Marquette academically. It's finals week. And we practiced at 10 o'clock at night one night. We practiced at 7 o'clock in the morning one morning. The reason why Dominique, Wes, and Rel were deemed leaders is because as soon as they got to campus, they were the guys. They were the best players. They were the guys that were interviewed the most. They were 3 of the top 10 scorers when they left. They all graduated. They're unbelievable representatives of our institution. But probably not enough has been said because I don't talk about it. But you look at all that our players have endured since July 4th, since who was eligible and competing Labor Day, and then once the first day of practice was, and then Thanksgiving Day, and here we are about to Christmas. I think those guys have done an unbelievable job of leadership. This was our 11th pregame practice for the year thus far, and it was our best one. And it's not supposed to be with all that we have endured, but it was because of the leadership of our team.